Hey everybody, Harvey here. So in this video we are partnering with Autodesk for something a little bit special. Something that I've been wanting to try for a while, which is crowd simulation or crowd animation, and is yet another part of the animation spectrum that you can actually be a pro at and have a whole career on crowd simulation. And this specifically applies to VFX and film, but it also applies to games. And in your personal scenes as you work and you want to fill them in with characters, this tool is incredibly powerful. And Autodesk has this tool called Gollum that is so much fun to work with and to actually simulate crowds. So if you've been struggling filling your scenes with background characters, soldiers, pedestrians, or even monsters, you are in for a treat because this tool is about to save you a ton of time. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, welcome to another video. Glad that you guys are here. My name is Harvey. I like to share my passion for animation, game making, and much more here in this channel with all of you. If you're not subscribed and this video is useful to you, consider subscribing, give it a like and a comment. Now, I actually been looking into crowd simulation systems for years. So I remember before I started my career, 2001, I actually went to a lot of expos, and there was a lot of different softwares which shall not be named that were incredibly impressive to look at. They would have like thousands of people kind of like rushing down a mountain, or thousands of people filling up a stadium. But unfortunately, especially early 2000s, the computers would melt if you were trying to actually use those type of softwares. So it was only useful for big studios that could actually afford incredible machines and render farms, which was a thing back then, definitely, and much more. Now, fast forward about 20 years, things have changed so much. And now we have options, right? And amongst these options, there is actually one specific software that has been in production for about 16 years called Gollum. Now, the people behind Gollum, they have so much passion for this crowd simulation systems, but they actually went about it in a different way, because what they realized, very much like me early on, is that these crowd simulation systems that existed previously, they were not really done for the end consumer, for the person in their bedroom trying to actually make a crowd system. They were made for basically big studios. So what if we actually kind of like flip it around and try to make one for the end user, something that is easier to use, something that is integrated with Maya, something that doesn't require another software for you to do crowds and stuff. So as of recent, last year or two, they were bought by Autodesk, and Autodesk has made Gollum part of their Media and Entertainment Collection. In their Media Entertainment Collection, you could actually get before 3D Max, Maya and Arnold, but now you also get Gollum as part of this bundle. Now, this is actually really cool, because if you're actually a part of the bundle already, you get Gollum for free and you can start using it. But for anybody out there that is watching this video right now that is kind of wondering, this might be too expensive, there's a 30-day trial that you should definitely take advantage of if you're a Maya user and you want to use Gollum. And the way Gollum works is very much in the same way as any other plugin, that you just go activate the plugin in Maya and then you start using it. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate some of the features of Gollum for all of you, but we're also going to have a chat with one of the founders of Gollum.
I think it's important to wake up every morning and be happy to achieve something. So yeah, of course there's plenty of Marvel projects, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Thor, and of course probably the biggest, which really helped us having some visibility on the international level, was Game of Thrones.
I think that the passion that these developers had when they started and still have, and you can see it in the DNA of how useful and how user-friendly Gollum is to use, you will actually connect, hopefully in your minds, to understand that even though this is part of Autodesk, this is actually a product made with passion, a lot of passion behind the scenes, and hopefully that will come through in the interview. So I'm going to show you a little bit about Gollum, how to set it up, and then we're going to speak with Nicolas, one of the founders, about how useful Gollum is, where it has been used, and much more. And trust me, this has been used in so many films that you will be surprised. Gollum is everywhere, you just don't see it, you don't know about it, but you definitely want to use it. So let's get to it. Okay, so when you first start Gollum, one of the first things that you should do is definitely do a check test. And is the tool to your left, right at the top of your shelf, that has a little man, the green stuff, like with a tick, that to make sure that your Maya is set up for Gollum. Now, the way you set up Gollum for simulation is very different than Gollum for animation. And the reason why is because you'll see in a second, I will be able, I need to press play to simulate, and I cannot scrub through my timeline as I do with my animations. Because of this, the playback speed needs to be play every frame instead of play 24 frames, as you normally are used to. You need to actually work with linear working units. The Y up needs to be true. Sometimes you can change that setting, but normally by default is Y up, so you shouldn't have a problem. You need to actually have a few things ticked in to make sure that you showcase them, such as locators. The rendering engine needs to be correct. But the best thing about the check test tool is that it will give you a checklist to make sure that you actually everything is ticked yes, and if any of them say no, you can always go ahead and go back to your settings and then change things accordingly, right? So that's basically what you do first. The second thing that you do is make sure that you create your environment. So this is going to be the level, the environment that the characters are going to kind of traverse, and this can be anything. In this case, I just created a plane with 3 objects just to kind of like have some type of like obstructions. And then I basically went to compute and save. Now, computing means that basically it's going to take those objects, it's going to find the obstacles and create the nav mesh for your characters to walk in. Saving the nav mesh is important because when you reopen your scene, you need to make sure that those settings are there. And then once it's done, as you can see here, like you can see like those little squiggly green lines, those lines are basically telling your characters that those objects are basically not traversable, otherwise they will go through it and they will go around it. So that's basically what I'm doing here as a first step. Now, an important step here is to make sure that you download the character pack for Gollum if you want to play with it, especially during your trial, because the character pack is going to give you the free models, free rigs, free animations that you need in order to get Gollum to actually work. You can always change your characters later on if you want to make sure that your character is unique to you. You can have monsters, you can have anything you want, but at least initially to test out the tool, I highly recommend you guys use their own characters that come in the character pack that is available for you for free. Now, once you actually get your character in your scene, it would look something like this, and it looks like a regular geometry. It doesn't have any animation controls, which is going to be slightly alien for all of us, but trust me, it's working, it's great. Now, once you actually have that, one of the things that you can do is basically go to your outliner and make sure you select your casual man, which is basically the default model. And then once you do that, make sure you go into your options, your character options right here, and then click this button, and you will open the Gollum character maker. And this is going to be familiar to anybody that has worked in Unreal, anybody that has worked with node-based systems, because anybody that is a rigger specifically, because what it is basically a node system rig that you can manipulate and change as you wish. So you can see here you have the spines, you have the right arm, the left arm, you have the fingers, the neck, the eyes, the right legs, and you can change these as you wish, or you can build it by default your own character, especially if you have your own model. You can do that as well. Now, within the character maker, if you go up to geometry on the left right here, you now have basically the character options. Each character is going to have a bunch of options, and these options are going to be basically a percentage. And the way this works is very much that if you have beards, right, what's the percentage of the characters that you want with beards? And then there's a slider that you can move to make sure that you have many characters with beards or less character with beards. And same thing with tops. How many tops do you want? And all those options that you see there on the left is basically types of tops that exist. And then you can toggle them in and out to make sure that, you know, if you want to just have green tops or red tops or blue hats or red hats, you can basically toggle them in and out to make sure that they work well. And you have a variety of characters. So basically the characters don't look the same all around, right? Okay, so the next step that you're going to have to do after you actually set up your character and get familiar is go into your population tool. Now, this is important. This is how you're going to get started getting those characters in. And you can actually get it on the top shelf, and then it will open up just like your regular tools on the left side. And then if you click it, you will open up the window. Now you have many things to actually draw, like shapes for the population to be in, but I'm going to keep it simple here, and I'm going to just put a triangle down so you can actually see that this is really simple, and you can go further if you want to, right? So here's a triangle. There's nothing else that I want to change right now. So if you go to Attribute Editor, right there on the top, you can see that the Pop Tool shape has some options, and then you can basically add your characters. All the squares that you see here are basically a representation of any one character that you have. So the more slots you have, the more characters you're going to have. You can also kind of like change other settings, such as making sure that, you know, the distance between them is different. So you can actually change them and make it a little bit more random. You can also add noise if you want to make sure that they are not like in line. They are a bit, you know, everywhere. And you can also add safe distance if you want to for the X. This is basically making sure that, you know, there's some space in between. And then lastly, you have orientation. And in this case, I'm going to like change the orientation to be facing towards the character that we created originally. So the characters have space to walk, and basically, so you also can see that they will avoid the objects around them. You also have orientation noise to make sure that you have characters, even though they are mostly facing the same way, they are slightly facing other ways as well, which is just human. We are all a little bit random. So this basically is just trying to mimic that is not exactly the same for everybody, right? Okay, now that we have that, the way that we actually get to see the characters, even though this is set, is by you going to your timeline and basically pressing play, or pressing one frame forward. And the reason why is because, once again, we are simulating this. So you can press play and actually see characters moving, and we're going to like extend the timeline in a bit, but you need to always reset your simulation before you simulate. For all those that are familiar, this is going to be normal, but for all those that are new to this tool, this is going to be slightly weird to get used to it, because you won't be able to actually see the changes unless you kind of like go back to 0 and then press play, or then just go one frame forward if you just have a static scene. But we want to get the characters moving, so we are basically going to add a few frames, 1500 or so, to make sure that the characters simulate for a long period of time. So once you have your character set up the way you want them, looking how you want them, even though everything is green here, they can have textures, they can have colors. I just want to focus on the animation side of things. That's the fun bit for us here in the channel. So you can actually go to your behavior editor. And this is when you start thinking about how the characters move in space. Not just animation, this is going to come later. It's just going to be about how they actually move and basically react or interact with the environment, I should say. This is why you have the behavior editor. Now, what you see here is that on the top left here, you have a bunch of different behaviors that have been set up by the Gollum team already. And you have a bunch of different things. There's different options here. And when you actually kind of like select any one of these options, this basically becomes very much like if you have a graph editor and Blueprint and you're familiar with Blueprint in Unreal, it's kind of the same thing. There's nodes that have specific functions, and those functions go together, and you can link them together, you can loop them, and you can do many things. So this is basically why you have here. You have a compute path to target, for example. This is one of them, so we're going to use that. That's going to be good. We also have here a avoidance system, so make sure that they don't intersect with each other, so they go around each other. So we're going to use that for sure. And for now, I think that's going to be most of the stuff that we're going to use, right? We're going to get the characters to go to a place. This is how they actually, go off place. So this is very basic, but it will get your characters to basically start moving. In this actually go into a target mode, there's different options within it. So you can actually select, which I will do right now, a random target in the environment, which means that each character selects a different point in the map or in the zone to go to, and that they're just being independent at this point. So they're just walking around, they go in places, and this is basically what you need to do. But in a second there, we're going to try another one. But for now, we're just going to leave it in, go to a random target, everybody. Now, the other thing that you need to do and make sure that you need to do is basically use the avoidance system, because at the moment, if you actually were to play it now, and definitely check it out as you actually setting up your scenes, they won't see each other. they're not aware of each other, so they will go through each other as it is. And you can definitely simulate it now just to see your characters moving, but the avoidance system means that they're now aware of each other and they will actually go around each other. And this is very clever because they will accelerate and decelerate in order to avoid each other in the best way possible. So that's basically what are they doing there. So in order for you to do that, you just drag one node into another, you'll get this, and basically you have both nodes working together in order to see the animations. So when those things are done, you go ahead and do the thing that we talked about, go back to 0, press play, and then in a second here, you'll see the characters moving. And the first time I did this, it's like magic. Look at this. They're all moving about, they're all T-posing, not the best move. We'll animate them in a second, but they're actually moving about and they're having fun. And look at them, being independent. You can see them avoiding each other as well, which is really interesting as well, because you can see even though obviously they're T-posing and the arms are going through, but the physical, the body, the nucleus is actually like trying to avoid each other. And just like that, even though they're T-posing, you can already see the potential of this tool, because this is just a square. It already feels populated, it already feels alive because it has so many characters in it. So this, you can see the potential of how this basically livens up any one scene that you have going for you in your personal work or in your studio. Now, we have that. This is great. The first time you see it is amazing, but we need to actually do more, right? One of the things that is not happening at the moment is that when you're simulating them, they are actually going to a place and then stopping. So what is happening right now is that they go into a place and then stop because there's nowhere else for them to go. They they have a target, they go to the target, they stop at that target, and that's about it. But what we want is for them to basically be in a looping motion where they hit the target and then they find another target and then they go to that target. So they are always moving about. So what we do is basically grab our node to go to shape and drop it into an operator that basically says loop, which is very much on the left, just under the behaviors. And then we can drop the whole thing looping within the logic that we built previously. So instead of just having the node, now we have the node, but it's looping. So if you do that, now the characters will do the same thing as before, but instead of stopping in a place, they will actually hit that place, and then they will actually move on to the next place. So you can see that guy there, before he stopped and then he moved. This guy is about to decide to go and move into a new place. And now they're always moving everywhere, right? So they're dynamic, which is great. Okay, so we're talking, we're cooking, we're doing amazing things. We have a scene that is alive. So now what we need to do is actually make sure that they actually move with intent, because we're animators after all. They need to be going somewhere. Instead of just going everywhere, let's make them go somewhere to a place. So for this, you need a target. So we basically go to the target tool. We actually put it in the map. It looks like a locator. And then you drag it into the part of the map that you actually want that goal to be. But that specific tool, once you go into the options, you have a bunch of stuff to select. Now, this tool works very similar to the population tool because normally each character needs to have a target. So the amount of characters you have, you should roughly have the same on your targets tool. So they can all have a place to go to if you actually want to get them to actually be the same at the same targets. So this is what you do there. So we want to make sure that you have this tool, you have the slots, you randomize them, same thing that we did before. But now what we're going to do is actually change the behavior. Instead of being go to a point randomly, we change the asset, or we change the location to be go to the point, go to the target that we selected. So now you can see that a lot of them are going to that target. Some of them are going there and then going back. Some of them, because it's randomized, but you can see more or less they're actually more converging more onto that target. And eventually, if you let it loop for long enough, they will actually kind of like all make it to the target. But because they are looping, they actually can go other places as well, which is great. Now you're probably thinking, all characters are T-posing. That's kind of boring. How can we get them to be animated? So here I just simplified the logic just for clarity, because I thought maybe it's going to be too complicated. But the whole idea here is very much that if you double click on the locomotion node, you can basically select animations that you have downloaded from the animation pack. So you open them, and then you'll see here on your attribute editor all the animations together. And it's really clever because Gollum basically gives you pre-recorded mocap all together, and they also compute the mirror so you can go left and right. And this will give you the best bang for buck. So this being the last step, we're going to go ahead and basically restart our simulation. And what you'll see now is that the characters are now all animating like a boss, avoiding each other, moving about. And because there's different animation clips, some of them are running sometimes randomly. They are moving about. They have different legs, different sizes. So it's really impressive to know that you have a crowd system that is incredibly convincing, that is running in real time, that is not chugging your computer, and it allows for this kind of results. So, welcome, Nicolas. I have lots of questions for you, but if you don't mind starting by just introducing yourself, what do you do at Gollum, and all that stuff.
Sure. Hey, Harvey. Thanks for having me. This is my honor and my pleasure. So yeah, my name is Nicolas Chaverou. You can tell that's really, really French. We live in the northwest of France in a small city which is called Rennes. And I've been part of the co-founding team of Golaem. So we started that company in 2009. So that's 16 years ago. And we run the company for almost 15 years until we get acquired. So my background is I'm a computer science engineer as a start, but clearly not the best one. So, but I have a passion for VFX and animation and understanding what studios want to do. So I moved slowly into something we were calling product manager at Golaem. And now being part of Autodesk, this is my official title. So I'm a principal product manager for Golaem. So I'm still in charge of the product. It hasn't changed really. My day-to-day task hasn't really changed. I'm more focused on the product, and I'll have less, noise things to handle now, of course.
Completely. Thanks to, I guess, like Autodesk must provide a massive cushion for you to focus on the business without a lot of stress.
Yes, there's this team dedicated to other things such as QA, support. So that's great. Yeah, that's great that we could rely on those teams too now.
That is amazing. So one of the things that I've seen, and this is why I'm making this video, is like how awesome Gollum is, and how, like, as an animator myself, looking at the product, I can tell that there's been a lot of thought into the plugin, into the integration, and then it's actually geared towards the artists as well, which is really, really good. So my biggest question is always, when it comes to these things, especially when a product that has been around for 16 years now, what was the genesis of like Gollum, right? What was the thing that actually made you guys kind of go, let's do it? Or did it actually organically happen over the years?
That's a good question. And now that I can look in the mirror and I can try to see, what good decisions led us to this, and I can try to make a postmortem. So we started as a research team in a lab. This is how we met, the co-founder. We met into a structure called INRIA, which is the National Institute for Research in Computer Science in France. And we were working on all those like research prototypes to make human behaviors, animation, and so on. And we figured at some point it would be great if we could take those research products and make an actual industry product. So VFX was one of the choices we could go for, and I had a passion for this, so I tried to push into that direction, and that was successful. And when we arrived, I think if I try to think about the background in the past, there was massive software was there for crowds. So that's the software which was outsourced from, spinned off from Weta. So Steven Regulus was the person who developed this. He got an Academy Award for Massive. It's an amazing piece of tech. And they were there, and we figured there's just that software. So maybe there's a spot for someone else into that segment of crowds. And when we looked at Massive, it's an amazing piece of software, but it requires some knowledge to dive into it. 100%. It requires to have a really smart person who would be dedicated to this. And we figured, okay, there are some studios that can fit that kind of software, but there's also smaller places which need to make stadiums, which need to make maybe a battle scene in the far background, and we won't be paying attention to behavior so much or whatsoever. So maybe we can help those people. And this is how we get started. We figured, okay, maybe we can help the other, this second and third tier of studio, like smaller sizes, and try to make a software which will be appealing to artists. So this is how we get started. And we got that amazing chance to be able to partner with Micros Image. So they turned into Technicolor, Micros Animation, and they also merged with MPC and the Mail. And now there's a different story. But at the time, they were like an independent studio in France, and they say to us, you know what, you've got the engineering background, we've got the production background. So we'll give you experience about how do we do VFX and animation, and you take that experience into shaping the software so it's production ready. So we had that huge opportunity to be used in production while we were developing. And we were next to the person using the software, and they were complaining like, oh, this is not working as I expected. Taking notes, fixing it, making a build, giving that to this person, and that lasted for 2.5 years or something. So that was amazing for us, to understand how people are working, what tools rely around Maya, what people would love to see, would love to have, what they're struggling with. And as a product manager, I still think that taking customers' feedback and ingesting it into the roadmap is the most important thing. So that gives us, that way that we decided to follow afterwards. And we used to joke also that, when we created the software, we figured, okay, it's going to be a 2 years job, then it will be feature complete. We just sell it to plenty of people and that's done. We can go, retire. Yeah. And 15 years later, you're still like having a feature list, which is long like this, and everything is still super exciting to do. So, and with, of course, ML coming, you're trying to think about what kind of data customers can leverage on their side and benefit from this, like what the experience they accumulated, how we can put this into a smart way so they can leverage this for later.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's always exciting. That's a good thing about that industry. It's always exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I see behind the scenes. We were just talking off camera about like when people like certain times see a tool coming from a big company. Sometimes it feels very much like it's a corporation making this tool. So I like, to me, what's exciting is the people behind the tool, like making the tool, like, having fun with it. And you guys obviously have that. You haven't lost it over 16 years.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's important to wake up every morning and be happy to achieve something, that there's a new challenge. We're not saving the world here, we're still making entertainment, but I try to think that some artists that are using Golem may be happy in their daily life because they use a software which corresponds to their needs. So this is my pride here, is that maybe I can help some people here and there. But yeah, I'm waking up every morning like excited about
That's amazing.
Yeah, what's here for me today.
Yeah, I can see it and I can hear it, which is an amazing segue.
That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Which is an amazing segue about the notable projects that you guys have worked on over the years. Because obviously, if you work with Weta, if you work with these big studios, you must have some big projects under your belt. So do you mind talking about some of the ones? I can see Black Panther behind you.
Oh yeah, I'm not in the office. The office is next door, but on the office walls, there's plenty of frames of the favorite project that we've been working on. Amazing. And it's true that we had the chance to contribute to tons of in 15 years that's of course there was a lot being done. If I'm trying to think about my recent favorite, I think we had a blast working with the Fortiche production studio when they worked on Arcane season 1 and 2. We saw that project from day one.
Amazing.
Before even it get green lighted and so on.
Because he's in France as well, so I guess he's just perfect. Right?
That was easy, I guess. They're in Paris. Some of my friends were working at the studio, and I had a really close relationship with them. And they gave us the honor to be able to share a user story with them with Autodesk when we made the first Golem release at Autodesk. Fortiche and Arcane season 2 was the user story which went with the release. So
Amazing.
I'm really honored and proud that they accepted to do this. But yeah, it's one of my favorite projects because the show is amazing, the art is amazing, the people who worked on there, they had so much passion for that project, and so did we. And the crowds are amazing too. They really like participate to the user story. So yeah, there's plenty of Marvel projects, Black Panther, Spider-Man 4, and of course probably the biggest, which really helped us having some visibility on the international level, was Game of Thrones.
Oh, I see. So you guys were
Tons-
part of Game of Thrones.
Tons of studios were involved into Game of Thrones and Golem. One of the most notable episode will be I'm not sure what's the name of the episode, but it's called the Frozen Lake. The code name is Frozen Lake. So the one, where Jon Snow is in the middle of a lake which is frozen, and the White Walkers are all around, and
I remember.
The dragons comes by and start firing everything.
That is amazing.
That was El Ranchito work in Madrid and Barcelona, and they won an Emmy Award for outstanding effects. And this is well deserved because there's 25 minutes of tension and crowds. And the person who achieved this did a masterpiece here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's The Walking Dead, a lot of TV show, and a lot of movies. So yeah, just to cite a few, but there were tons.
And I know this is like, it might be a no-go zone, but is there any immediate features that you guys are planning to release? Anything that is on the horizon that you might be able to disclose about Gollum that might get people excited maybe?
So there was the release yesterday, as the day we're speaking at right now. So yesterday there was Golem 9.2.1, which was released, and we've been working. So one of the latest additions in Golem was like the traffic system.
Okay.
A lot of people have been asking us regarding traffic and audio effects. For example, they use the traffic system for John Wick in Paris. They have a full CG scene in Paris.
Nice.
And this is all using Golem for cars. But the first system we did was great, but it was missing some features. So we've been pushing more features into traffic, and we'll be looking to push more in the future as well.
And just for those out there that are not in the industry yet, just know that a crowd TD, which is actually a profession. So which means that there is somebody in VFX games, and movies and films that actually just does crowds. And this is where the Gollum and all of the stuff that Nicolas just mentioned now is normally made by a specific person. So you can have a career out of this, for those that don't know.
That's true. You can have a career. There are some people who followed just the academy and had a career as a crowd head of department now. Yeah. And I used to teach in schools too. I was making crowds in some of the VFX schools, and I mean a lot of people got interested into this and made a living out of it. And this is a lot of pride, for you to see those kids growing in a career and making impact on the industry.
Yeah, making a living out of it.
Yeah, and making a living out of it, and having a lot of fun and trying to pass that passion to more people in their team. So it's a real job. It's
a real job, yeah. Just because some people look at this, I mean, it's a tool that I can play with, or I can use it for a personal project, but it's actually a career to actually be taking out of this. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Nicolas, and thanks for I hope everybody took something out of this interview, and speak to you guys soon.
Yeah, and thanks so much for your time, and everybody take care.
Absolutely. So that is basically Gollum. Now, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the interview with Nicolas as well, because I think a software like this gives you so much, and because it's bundled, now you don't have to pay for another license for a software that actually does crowd simulation. You can now play with it because it's part of that multimedia bundle and see if you like it. And for me specifically, adding it to my cutscenes, to my animations, and even exporting this to Unreal so I can actually get some crowd work in there, becomes incredibly powerful, right? Now we have other options, such as now that you have animations, when you click on a character, you can see specifically what type of animations are doing, what kind of blend systems are doing. You can see the skeleton. You can even like rig your characters, like to make sure that you can animate them as well on the spot if you want to change them. But we don't have time for that, maybe for a future video. But for now, that is our video. I hope you enjoyed it. And until the next one, stay well, stay safe. Peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of better.